Alright, welcome to the first video of the Time Mage single class challenge on this channel. So, if you've ever done this or if you've ever watched anybody do this challenge, there are certainly a few attributes of the Time Mage that can make large parts of the game trivial. One of those, of course, being Meteor. Now, early in the game, I don't think you're going to be doing much Meteor, given the fact that it costs so much JP to learn, and then it also costs so much MP to use. In fact, more maximum MP than any of us actually have. So this is obviously right after I've unlocked Time Mage with my characters. I did decide to go easy on myself and make a squad of all females to go along with Ramza, who, as many of you know, also has the same magic growth potential as female units. I do understand that sometimes with our Time Mages we are going to be physically whacking opponents with our stabs, and technically, you know, maybe males would do more damage with that, but I think it's hardly worthwhile to go ahead and add some males in the mix unless you just feel like it, because for the trade-off of maybe not whacking with the staff as hard, we're going to be hitting much harder with our spells using female units. So that's kind of the idea behind that, pretty self-explanatory. As far as what tools we have at our disposal right now, we really have haste. We have things like slow and immobilize. Those could come in handy, but again, I really only just have spells like that because my Time Mages have not had very much, well, for lack of a better term, time to be Time Mages, so they haven't learned very many skills. I might have, I think I only taught Ramza slow, so I might have him come in here. Okay, so I could, more likely to hit the goblin, so we'll go with slow on the goblin, see if that hits at 68%. Okay, well it missed, but... So guys, sometimes I press the speed up button during the spells because I think my version of War of the Lions does not have the, and I should just patch it at some point, it doesn't have the spell slowdown fix. So whenever anybody's using a spell, the game just freaks out and goes so slow. And sometimes I just don't have the patience to deal with that. So let's see what we can do with our stick whack. You know, and Time Mages, they hit much harder than classes like Black Mages, for example, with their staffs. Like, you see that 21, that was pretty comparable with like what a Squire would do. So I'm really happy with that in these early battles. They are kind of strictly support magical units in the beginning, but if I have the ability to do some pretty solid whacks with them too, that's really going to help us take down these, chip away at these enemies in kind of in tandem with our guests. So, do you think we can hit anybody with slow with this gal? Probably not with where I moved. Slow seems to have a one panel height. Let's just fire off a haste, a self-haste here, if you will. But yeah, so we can talk a little bit more about what it means to run Time Mages. Obviously, we have access to things like Meteor later in the game that I already talked about that are going to make most battles quite trivial, because if we're casting Meteor, almost no regular unit can survive Meteor. When it comes to the Lucavi battles, the big bad boss battles, we're going to have access to spells that do set percentages of HP. So very much similar to the Oracle or Mystic, depending on which version you're playing. Life Drain, or the Ghost's monster Drain Touch, we're going to be doing percentage-based damage, which is going to make those battles also quite trivial. Another kind of cheesy thing we could do is we could use things like Quick in order to boost, let's say, I'm picturing something like, you know, a difficult Lucavi fight. Just keep casting Quick on the same fella, meaning Ramza, or on one of our mages, and they're just going to hit meteors one after the other, and that's probably going to take them out pretty quick. So I think we're not going to have like a ton of difficulties in this challenge. I just think it's going to be fun to try because I don't know about you guys, but the Time Mage, it's never really been something I've utilized a lot. Sometimes when I play regular runs with no restrictions, sometimes I'll let one of my characters be a Time Mage for, I don't know, a little bit, and then I usually end up graduating them to Summoner. Now I will do a Summoner single class challenge as well, which is probably even less challenging than Time Mage, but you know, these are still fun. Even when you play as the easier classes, it's a ton of fun just to play with the skills that only the one class has and not using abilities or anything to enhance it from other classes. Obviously that goes against the spirit of how the game was intended to be played, but I think setting these self-imposed restrictions on yourself can be a lot of fun because for those of us who have run the game dozens of times, it's just more fun to impose restrictions on yourself, I find. So I probably will still continue with the Grog Squad and some of these other challenges as I go, but for whatever reason last night I couldn't shake the thought of doing the Time Mage run, and I don't even necessarily know why. I just felt like it. Okay, so because there's not really any reason for me not to, I started the run and I'm just going to see how it goes. Now, I didn't record this, so I'm going to have to redo a Black Mage run at some point. But at one point I did run... Actually, Black Mage I think was my first single class challenge that I ever did, and I just did it by myself. You know, I'd posted a couple screenshots back when I had a Reddit account. I might make a new Reddit account, but honestly it's kind of a toxic website. Not the FFT subreddit. Final Fantasy Tactics subreddit is actually really nice. It's not very toxic, but I was not enjoying a lot of the other subs, and one day I decided to just delete my account because it was annoying me. So I'll probably make, you know, a more clearly dedicated video game or association with the YouTube account on Reddit, so I can start posting on the Final Fantasy Tactics sub and maybe some other subs again. But going back to what the challenge consisted of. So the Black Mage run, although very easy in most battles and certainly incredibly easy in the beginning because of things like being able to utilize low MP spells that hit like a truck, there were a couple battles like the one in Chapter 4 where Ramza has to, or where you don't necessarily have to in the War of the Lions version, but you know, there's the two switches that the knights are standing on top of, and you have to pull them. We got wrecked by the archers and some of those bulky knights, and even, you know, some of their black mages in that Chapter 4 battle. Like, there were just some battles like that were super tough. So obviously this one right here, going back to this challenge we're doing right now, not that difficult. I wasn't expecting this to be difficult. Again, they hit decently hard with the staves. And those spells like slow and haste and things, you know, those can be honestly pretty useful. So we'll go ahead and save our game because we haven't lost any of our units. You can see it's already taken a little bit of time to just unlock the Time Mage class. So one thing I could do, just to be kind of more thematic, is start to work my guests more towards also being Time Mages. Honestly, I don't really think it matters. They're not going to be around that long. Maybe we'll just leave them as squires so that it's, you know, they can just get a couple sword whacks in and help us out, or knife whacks. And Gilda didn't make it into the battle because we were limited due to having 2 guests, but we will have to get her in the battle because you can see the level disparity stuff's already starting to happen. The lovely Beatrix already has 2 levels over Gilda, so we'll get these guys sort of evened out if we can over the next few battles, and we will see you next at Dorter Trade City. Thanks very much.